Part 3, Chapter 15. The coastline north of the bay is wild and empty. Here the vast farms of the innerlanders, the men that journeyed in wagon and cart from the cities 100 years before, stretch beside the sea. No human comes this far north but for the farmer once a year, buzzing along on his quad bike as he patrols his fence line. It is land used for nothing, lying empty, carved up by lonely wire. Dotted along the coast are the old bunkers. They are concrete and squat, built for the war that never visited the bay, and now they look out over the empty sea. The place is devoid of man, and yet beneath the cold water there is one that adds his thinking to the ocean's song. 91, 92, the numbers drip through his mind. 94, 95. Each number wells from the one before, growing from the blue void of his thoughts as a slow leak blooms from a tap. 97. Jonathan opens his eyes. The underwater world is spread before him. Kelp stalks rise, stretching to the surface in shifting lines. Stokvis and Harder flit by, unafraid of the silent man among them. 99. He counts within, utterly still, utterly embraced by the cold. This is his ritual, his means of surviving the past, because every moment he feels how he abandoned her. Each day he enters the water, each day he dives down, finding the point where the air in his lungs crushes enough for him to attain neutral buoyancy, and each day he hangs there, calming his heart and blood so that he hovers motionless in the drifting kelp. He focuses only on the numbers as they pass. As he goes deeper within, so the cold fades and the need to breathe, and the life of the ocean unfolds before him. His thoughts are slowing to the pace of fish. The song of all the creatures rise. Eat, they whisper, and he glories in it, because their song is her song. Each day he extends his time, learning to nurse a single breath. Each day he finds further peace. Always there is the temptation to breathe. He knows its flavor, the agony as it rises, the panic of lungs that begin to pump and strain, and then the calm that comes after, at the place where consciousness slips away. He has touched that point, and he has been lucky so far. Eat. He rouses himself, gliding through the kelp fields, riding the desire to breathe. Spying a likely crevice, he follows the stalk of a kelp tower down. At the bottom the cold crushes harder, holding him. He settles before the slit in the rock. Despite the panic, he glories at the quiet of his heart. He pushes his hand into the dark hole. He is numb from the cold. Sensation is blunt, a wrench instead of a scalpel, but he can still feel the hard carapace of his quarry. The eyes protrude on stalks and the feelers grow from spiny roots. He closes his fingers around the shell. He begins to pull the creature free, no matter its fighting. He kicks off, rising to the surface with the cray curling in his hand. As he rises, his lungs burn, but his thoughts remain calm. 132. He will not acknowledge the flames. He will not give in to the shameful desire that took her from him. He holds the calm of his heart, and to accentuate it, he slows his rise, letting the agony build. The shoreline is rocky. There is no beach in this windswept place. Grey clouds hang low and heavy and promise winter rain. Jonathan rises out of the foaming water and makes his way along reed-slicked rocks. He is sure-footed, sleek and shivering. Waves crash about him, but he knows their movements as he knows his own breathing. They do not assault him. His body is tempered by his months living in this wildness. Where once he was a fisher, now he has become a creature of the sea. He climbs the rocks, approaching the bunker positioned on a promontory that looks out over the waters. Once a gun was placed here, long since removed by the distant council. What remains is a dry bunker filled with straw, a memory of their horses, and the perfect shelter for a man living wild. Jonathan welcomes the rain. He refuses the distinction between wet and dry, between warm and cold. At night he sleeps in the open, forcing himself to embrace the night air. He clothes himself in his breathing, and the passing of the stars, he has found that it is possible to ignore the cold. Instead of burrowing into the straw, he burrows into the heat of his own heart. And when he loses his nerve, the flames of his fire bring heat to his fingers. And always he thinks of her. In every movement, he thinks of her. Where is she? Why has she not answered him? He enters his shelter and immediately sinks to his worktop beside his fire pit. He has salvaged a discarded strip of wood from the surrounding bushes. Even here, so far from the village, there is trash to be found. Who knows what item of furniture it once was, what men once travelled here and tossed the wood away. He lifts the flapping cray and with a twist pulls the tail from the carapace, a mess of bile trailing behind. He places the animal on the board and sends his blade crunching between its stalked eyes. Smoothly, he slices the shell from the tail meat and seams the tail open to remove the remaining offal. He cubes the tail in 3 and skewers it to 3 sharp cooking sticks. The head he places in a rusty tin, his cooking pot. He has found tins to be plentiful out in the bush. A morning's walk and careful looking will provide them. He turns to the fire pit. With a twig he stirs at the dead ash that releases hidden warmth onto his palm. He plays with the sensation for a moment, his body craving it, and then he takes his hand away. He bends to blow gently on the revealed coals, and then he adds twigs from his pile of kindling and wood. A tendril of smoke begins to curl and multiply. He watches the wood fibers glow red, smoking, until suddenly there is flame. Jonathan nurtures it with his breath and then places larger sticks on top. They crackle as rain begins to fall outside. Jonathan places his cooking sticks above the flames. A fire is for cooking, food is for nourishment, and Jonathan is for the rain. He goes out to greet it. He squats outside the bunker. He can smell the rain as it touches the low bush spread all around. It smells of soil and branch and winter. He closes his eyes, retreating into his breathing as the droplets patter onto his skin. He follows the waves of his breath, traveling down and in, away from the cold. His mind is attuned to the stream of oxygen slipping past his nostrils. He holds a lungful and then exhales until empty, letting the silence within build until the symphony of the world becomes torrential, the patterning of the falling water, the hissing of the surf among the rocks, the sigh of the wind all around him. He sits in this place of pause and attempts to see to the other side. He has learned that every breath is a meeting with death. He waits on his empty lungs, listening to death's song, before he finally gasps and lets the air in. He opens his eyes. The sea of low bush is bright. It stretches away ahead to the south, and to his left the east. He sees the endless fence tracking through that sea, and glimpses the sand of the trail on which the farmer patrols once a year, herding his sheep. He lets his eyes wander to his right, to the north and the ocean, and his mouth falls open in astonishment. Just beyond the rocks, riding at anchor on the autumn swell, is the Sea Queen. The old man Mocha is at work on the deck, wrapped in orange oilskin. He flings a rubber dinghy over the side and gingerly climbs onto it. Jonathan skips down the path to the rocky shore and dives into the surging water. The surf is rising, and Mocha is precarious on his dinghy. Jonathan swims hard. The old man is methodical. He unlatches an oar and begins to paddle, swaying with the roiling surf. Jonathan reaches him. The rubber of the dinghy is hard under his freezing fingers. He catches a glimpse of the face of the old man as he loops the grab line around his wrist and turns to tow the old man to the rocks. He thinks of swimming round to the beach a kilometer distant, but it is too far. He feels a hand on his shoulder, a squeeze of recognition. Jonathan's toe strikes rock. He stands, pulling the dinghy in closer to the first of the boulders, wanting to wedge it in so that the old man can climb out. But Mocha leaps with the swell. He lands with rubber-gripped boots and turns to help the boy drag the dinghy out of the waves. Together, they start up the bush-carpeted cliffside. "This is a big surprise, Wim." Jonathan whispers the words through his cleft lip. As they walk, Mocha is eyeing all around him. The old grey bunker perched on this wild hillside, the rain falling in mists and trails, and the shirtless man at his side, a boy no longer. Inside the bunker, the fire has died. "Please, Wim," whispers Jonathan, reaching for Mokka's oilskin and hanging it from the empty window ledge. "Please," he says, offering the old man his own rocky seat by the fire, squatting to remake the blaze. He offers the old man the cray tails, curled and hot on the sticks. "Dankie, Sien. Thank you, boy." The cray head is now bright red in the cooking pot, and Jonathan hooks it off the fire and sets it at the feet of the old man. "No, boy, you also need some hot breakfast." Jonathan nods in thanks. He clasps the cray's head by a feeler and places it on his chopping board. With his knife he cracks the carapace and begins to pull the meat from the cavity with thumb and finger. The two eat in silence. All the while the old man's eyes roam. The old wood used as a cutting board, the trail of soot leading to the empty window cavity, and the indent in the straw where the boy must sleep. He is living rough, and winter will only worsen. "Where is your water?" "I have a well, Wim, in the dunes, and also the rain. Can I fetch some for Wim?" Mokka shakes his head, returning to the meat between his fingers. "How long have you been at this place?" "It is now 5 months, Wim." Mokka nods, eating quietly. "It is a good place. I have food and shelter and peace." "You have looked after yourself well." Old Mokka has finished his tale and now holds his fingers before him. "I have no cloth here, Wim. I have only what I could find." Mokka sucks his fingers one by one and then wipes them on his trousers. "Can I take that cup of water?" Jonathan ducks out of the doorway, making his way quickly over the dune behind the bunker. On the other side, amidst the pattening rain and the song of the bush scent, he kneels to his well. The hole is lined with sticks and brush, and the bottom is lined with loose rock. Water has pooled down there, seepage from the shallow water table, and Jonathan reaches in to scoop some of the liquid into a rusted tin can. Carefully he returns. Inside, Mokka has not moved. "I know this place," he says. "I camped here as a boy. We liked to stay out for many days, tying up our dinghies beyond the swell. We fished all day, hot knot and cray, and slept in this bunker at night. Just like this. The straw even must have been the same." He sips his water. "But that was in summer months. This is a cold place in winter. How long will you stay?" "I don't know, Wim." Mokka nods, allowing the silence to rest between them. He does not know this young man well. They are nearly strangers despite the years they have shared the ocean. This makes what he has to tell him all the more difficult. "We are having good fishing in the bay." "Really?" "Yes. The foreigners have been taking big catches. Our fabrica cannot keep up for processing." "That is good." "Yes." Each listens to the crashing of the surf and the beating of his own heart. Each is waiting for the other. "What are you doing here, Sien? Why are you not in the bay?" Jonathan is careful with his answer. He considers his words, testing them against the truth of what he has found in this place, the truth of the cold who he has made his ally. "I thought I would do like you and your friends," he says finally, calmly. "I would live free for a while." Mokka nods. He studies the young man staring resolutely at the flames. He is slight, elegant even. The brute build of his grandfather is absent, but the eyes burn with the power of that man. Mokka sighs and gathers himself. "Jonathan," he asks softly, "where are your parents?" The question catches him off guard. "My parents?" He turns to the old man, his face full of surprise. "Hoekom? Why, Wim?" "Where are they, Sien?" "They died, uncle, in the war." Old Mokka shakes his head slowly. "Your parents did not die in the war." "What does Wim mean? Where did they die?" "They died very near here, in this ocean. They died with you at their side, but you were too young to remember." Quietly, as Jonathan watches the flickering fire, Mocha tells him the true history of his mother and father. He tells him how his mother was the daughter of a fabric owner in the Bay, and his father an unknown fisherman. He explains how they fled from a tyrant and how they perished. He tells the young man of the orphan that remained. And finally, he tells him the name of the tyrant. Jonathan does not speak. Only the rain patters on the sea of bush outside, while the fire burns low. Sian? Boy? Jonathan shakes his head. His features are full of his mother, the dusky skin, the high cheekbones. And his father too, that strange fisher that Mocha remembers but briefly. Did you know him? Asks the young man, finally, softly. I did. He fished for me. What was he like? He was like you, Sian, just like you. A gentle man. He had few words, but he could hear things that others could not. It was as if he could speak with the fishes, as if he could hear them. He was a great fisherman, like you. But you are better. His face was like mine? His lip? It was. The boy does not speak for many moments. The fire puffs out. Both men are seeing the same image, a gentle fisher shielding his wife and son, and in the rocking of his boat he falls into the green, and the water enters his boots and sucks him down. Both see how she followed him, and both now know how a child remained, and a bear. Jonathan is so still that it unnerves the old man. Minutes pass. Sali was there, the boy says this suddenly, a whisper in the rain. He was. He saw it all. Sali showed me how to fish. He did. He taught you the sea. He raised me. The old man shakes his head sadly. No, boy. Nobody raised you. It is the fault of all of us. Nobody raised you. The boy is silent for many moments. Mr. Mocha, where is my grandfather now? The old man places his hand on the bare skin of the boy's shoulder. Immediately he wants to pull it away. The skin is so cold. He is gone. Gone? The old man tells Jonathan all of the tumultuous events since he disappeared. He tells him of the confrontation between Uncle Mike and Yaguchi, and of his bloody battle. I'm not surprised, says Jonathan after a time. He would never submit to anyone. Jonathan turns to him and Mocha shrinks within his heart, for the young man's face has become cruel. And you, old man, why have you come so far to find me? You have come to tell me this? No, Sian, I did not come to tell you this tale, even though I stand in your debt because of it. I came to make you an offer. Oh. Come and fish with us, with me, in the Bay. The Morkel Fabrik stands empty. The gates are shut. It is yours. Take it and join us, and let us fish the oceans as these foreigners do. Every day Yaguchi asks for you. Join us and let us make terms to him. That way we can save our Bay. The boy keeps his stare trained on the old man. It is a stare the old man has seen before. It is the rage of his grandfather, the rage of Uncle Mike. But the old man presses on. How did you find that blue sailfish? The echo finder was not functioning. Jonathan smiles, a cruel smile, shark-like. It was luck, Wim. You know fishing. One day it is your day, and another it is not. It was not luck. You know something of the sea that none of us know. You stand head and shoulders over us. You can save us. Jonathan is quiet. It seems as if he is listening. And indeed he is. Eat, sighs the mind of the old man. Eat, he says with fear in his eyes. And what do you get from it, Wim? I get survival, my boy. A chance to fish on the sea and to eat. Jonathan nods. It is good that the old man tells him the truth. He squats to the little fire. He places a stick on the embers. He takes a breath, bringing himself back to the sensation of the cold running through him, his breathing. He would stop the course of hate and create his own world. He listens again to the surf and the beating of his own heart. He counts them both. He takes breath, and only when he has returned to himself does he speak. Worm, do you want me to come back? What do you mean now? Jonathan closes his eyes. The cool air slipping across his nostril is there. Is there any person in the bay, fisher or line worker or even owner, that wants me back there? We all do. Why do you talk like this? When you were a boy, why did you and your friends come all the way out here? You can catch just as well at the island. You can sleep on the beach there just as well. Moko looks up at the younger man. Even now that the boy is calm, still Moko finds that he is looking into the eyes of Uncle Mike. Well, what are you asking, Sian? Why did you come out here, with your friends, even when you were a boy like me? We came for friendship. The boy nods. Yes, friendship. I lived in the bay all my life. I've worked for the bay since I can remember, and I have not one friend in that place. Johnny, the past is done. Don't take the path of bitterness. That was your grandfather's path. I don't want to take that path. You are right. Tell me, did my grandfather ever speak of me? Moko sighs. He looks to his hands and then back to the boy's flashing eyes. Your grandfather was a difficult man. I think none of us of the bay could understand him. He came from a different place. He knew war before he knew peace. Did he ever speak of me? He looked out for you as best he could. I believe it was always his wish to have you take over the Mokelfabrik. Did he ever speak to you of me? Moko looks down. He cannot hold the eyes of the boy any longer. No, he admits, shaking his head. Once again rain begins to wet the felt outside. Old man, you are a good servant of your village. You are always kind to me. He turns to reach for Moko's oilskin. He hands it to him. Thank you for coming to find me. I will consider what you have said. If I come to you, it will be for you and not for the bay. And it will be 5 days from today. Moko raises his hand, palm up to the boy. He wants to say something more. His heart is heavy. But all has been said. Okay, Johnny, that sounds like a good plan. The boy takes the hand and helps old Moko to rise. Thank you. The sensation of the boy's strong grip stays with him as Moko makes his way back to the Sea Queen. 5 days, says Jonathan, looking up to the old man from the cold, grey water. I hope so, mutters the old man as he waves the young one goodbye. In the wet weather, among the grey cloud hanging low, while Jonathan swims back to the turbulent shore, Moko unhitches his anchor line. Hand over hand, he pulls that grim iron up through the cold. That night, Jonathan lies uncovered on the beach, his eyes towards the heavens. The rain has passed and there is a break in the cloud overhead. Up there, in the winter sky, the hunter Orion is gone for the season. It is only when heat returns that he will return also. Now the scorpion rides high. He turns to the Southern Cross. He follows its length to meet the trail set out by the pointers and drops his eyes to the horizon. South, the direction of the island, and beyond that, the bay. He turns in the dark, looking to the north and then to the west. Where are you? There is no answer but for the wind and the booming surf. Will I see you again? Neither the surf nor the wind reply. He places his hands beside him, his palms flat on the cold sand. He glories in each grain that rubs against his skin. Are you there? He asks of the wet sand. Are you there? He asks of the world, and nothing but the wind sighs across the lonely beach. He places his hands over the hole in his stomach, the place from where his longing goes out to her. He holds the wound, trying to seal it. He sleeps this night as he has slept many others, looking up to the stars as they sail by, sleeping and waking from the cold, sleeping and waking, until, finally, dawn. In the coming sun he knows what he must do. He stands stiffly and begins to run. 4 nights later, the sky is dark and heavy, and beneath it the boy slumbers. None are awake but old Moka, who waits with a lone light burning in his fabriek. This coming morning is the day the boy will come, if he comes, and he hopes it will be so. The old man sits quietly, waiting out the night, full of all that has come to pass. The boy he has known these long years, since his own first memory, the boy of his father and his grandfather, seems changed forever, stained by the foreigner's ships. Nothing will ever be the same, the old man mutters, knowing it was always so. Nothing ever was the same, but for the roiling of the world, moving to and fro. He is an old resident, a long seer of the tides and seasons and decades, of the families that have come and gone. He has seen it all, and he knows it still. To him there is only one thing that truly matters: to eat. And so he hopes that the boy will come to him, so that he and his own may eat. Yet he knows that it may not be so. Beneath the same dark and heavy cloud, the boy stands on a beach looking out toward the rocks of the island a kilometer from the shore. They are hidden in the darkness, but he knows they are there. My love? He steps into the water, wading deeper, and then sinks his face beneath. Where are you? He swims out to the sentinel, effortlessly gliding through the cold, knowing all the fishes from the bay are not yet on the sea. He enters the northern channel, his body still strong, and comes to rest at the base of the rising tower, bobbing before it. He puts his forehead to the rock. My love? He dives under, using the rock to pull him down. With fresh lungs, he finds the entrance to her cave and pulls himself inward. He enters the chamber and pauses in the soft moonlight cast through the flume. The walls that he knows so well rise up around him, riven with the marks of drills. Men have scoured the rock deeply. The clams that once gilded this place are stripped from every surface. There is nothing here but scars. He understands. The violation is complete. He remembers her face when she saw Uncle Mike at his hut, on the morning that they came down from the mountain, and his final glimpse of her through the clouds of the Dark One's ink. Cruelty is alien to her, and greed is more than she can bear. He knows now why she is gone. He rides the need to breathe, letting it light up his eyes before he kicks his way out of the cave and up to the surface. The light is building now. It will not be long until the bay's first fishers arrive with their nets ready. He treads water, at one with the cold and all the creatures within it. He finds Venus, fading to morning's light. He bids her goodbye. He sinks down. He hangs for what seems an age, the desire to breathe slipping further and further away. He merges with the water, the quality of his sight shifting to that of a fish. He looks ahead of him, out to the great drop-off where the shelf of the continent sails down. He looks above him to where the sun is rising orange above the veil, and there he sees a rainbow fish. Its colors shimmer as it drifts above the mighty void, tracing lazy circles, until finally it swims off. Jonathan watches its going, a stray bubble escaping his bluing lips. He waits one moment more, and then he kicks out with his hands and feet and slides after it, into the void, the shelf dropping away beneath him. The end.